Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg. And this is Ger Can Get It. This week, the forbidden episode.
Bum, bum, bum.
Rachel, we finally get to give thanks.
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to sucking face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
Before we get into the shit show fuckcapades that is Other Women's Children, it's from 1993. I'm 99% sure that it's a TV movie, because otherwise the quality makes no sense.
God, I hope so. Yeah.
So it has to be a TV movie. And in this movie, Ger plays a man called Matt Stewart. He's married to the main character of the movie, who is called Dr. Amelia Stewart. And they have one little Wow, they have one little son named Alexander. This movie is giving me brain damage
already. Oh no.
If I die in the middle of this, please finish this episode without me.
I'll just use one of our prior recorded and edited and ready to post episodes on this that we have not used.
Like, as long as you preface it with like an in memoriam. You get the lady who does our theme song to do like an in memoriam version of the theme song where it's just slower and sadder.
It's the same words and everything. It's just slower.
Just Ger can get it, and like the audible sound of weeping.
Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
I'm gonna pee my pants down. Trying to drink water so I'm not so dehydrated all the time.
She died the way she lived, bitching about other women's children.
Oh, I thought you were going to say horny as hell. I mean, two things can be true.
I mean, it's two things. Yeah, same thing.
Okay, wow, I'm crying. And I knew I was going to cry from this episode because it's not good, but I didn't think I'd be crying from laughter so soon. Okay, so serious. Okay, so the basic setup of this movie is that Ger is a guy who went to med school. I don't know at what point he decides to not be a doctor, but he goes intending to be an orthopedic surgeon. At some point is like, no, I hate this. And then ends up becoming a house flipper who also like does the construction to flip the house. And he does this work with Tom Cavanaugh. And if you're like, I know that name. Yes, you do know that name. He was Ed on the TV show Ed. Remember the bowling alley lawyer from like the early 2000s? Ed, that's Tom Cavanaugh. He was in this movie for like 12 seconds. He gets to wear a cool leather jacket and be like, Ger's younger, hornier friend, which is really a feat, I think, in any Ger movie. So that's
it is. Yep.
That's the highlight of this whole movie. I just gave it to you. Anyways, so he plays Ed. So that's Ger's character. Is like he's smart enough to be a doctor. He was going to be a doctor. He decided to be a house flipper. He's shamed his parents. It's fine. He marries a lady named Amelia. She is the director of clinical pediatrics at whatever the name of the hospital is, wherever they're living. It feels sort of Seattle-ish, and I don't know why that's the vibe I always get from Ger movies where there's like doctors involved. I feel like it's always meant to be like quasi-Seattle. I can't explain it. I'm probably wrong. It's actually Toronto. We all know it's Toronto, but like it's playing like generic America. So yeah. He's married to her. She's the fucking worst. And we're going to get into that in like a second. They have a son named Alexander. He's a little blonde moppet. I don't know. I'm not good at kid ages. He's more than 0, less than 10, probably.
He's anywhere from 6 to 21. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I think he's supposed to be like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay. I will choose to believe that. You have seen the ages of children growing up. I believe that you know what they look like at
I think he's in preschool.
Stages.
He's either in preschool
he's
or
in preschool, yeah.
Young kindergarten.
So how old are you in preschool?
Yeah, like 5 or 6. Depending on when you go into kindergarten. So 5-ish. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. We'll go with 5-ish. He's a precocious little moppet / asshole. We'll get into that too. And then I'm not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No. And then the only other characters that sort of matter at all are some of her patients' families, and we'll get into that in a second as to why Amelia sucks and is terrible. But there's a little boy named Denny. He is black. He's probably also 5 or 6. Rachel just died at the Denny is going to be like whatever the opposite of your safe word is, like in the future. Anyways, he's a little kid. He is probably the best actor in this entire movie. This kid goes so hard. Like he is like the little highlight. And I don't know if someone was like only filming him when he had a cold or like poking him with a razor blade every time he was on camera.
Maybe they really went and got an AIDS patient child. And they were like,
that wouldn't surprise me.
Do you think he wants to be in a movie? And they were like, yeah, that's his Make-A-Wish. Great. We're going to put him in other women's children. Cool. Is he going to play a superhero? Oh, no.
He's really into the works of Garrett Wyn Davies. So if you have a movie that it would be child appropriate for him to be in.
Is he okay being the child dying of AIDS? I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, method acting, I guess.
oh. It's so dark. Anyways, there's a little child actor who plays Denny. He does a very good job. In all seriousness, he does such a good job. He is being raised by his grandmother, whose name is Roberta. And because it's the 90s and she's a black grandmother, she's pretty much a religious stereotype, but this whole movie is trying really hard not to be stereotypes, and it's just mashing its face into every stereotype it hits. Like it's hitting every branch on the way down out of the stereotype tree. But anyways, so there's little Denny. He's being raised by Roberta. His dad is named Leonard. He shows up for like 12 seconds. You said that he's the guy who plays Bubba Gump from the the Forrest Gump movie, singular movie. I haven't seen Forrest Gump in such a long time. I assume he is good in that. He's fine in this, I guess, for like the 2 minutes of dialogue that he gets. But essentially, Denny's whole story is Denny has AIDS. His mom died of AIDS. His dad is a recovering drug addict, and now he's religious too. Because that's the movie that this is, folks. Strap in.
Yep.
And Denny will die at the end of the movie. It's one of those like tearjerker, heartbreaking things where they're just like, let's bring in this black family and use them as a prop, and then like have one line of dialogue where we pretend that we're not using them as a prop, and then go right back into like stereotypes and just using them to further the white family story. Yeah, that's this movie. Anyways, so those are all the characters you really need to know. There is like a sub basement subplot where there is a family of lawyers who come in, and they have a sickly little child who is failure to thrive, and they're trying to figure out how to fix this child. And essentially, Amelia will just accuse them of not loving her enough because
diagnosis.
That's her diagnosis. That's her reasoned medical advice is you don't love your child enough. And then the family will rightfully take their child out of that hospital because if that is your medical advice, probably you're not a very good doctor. Yeah. And then Amelia will end up getting yelled at by her boss to apologize. And so she's like, well, I guess maybe you not loving the child enough is not why your child is dying. And then they will bring the child back to the hospital. End of subplot. It's terrible. The guy who plays the dad looks exactly like Bill Oakley, the writer from The Simpsons. And that is the highlight of that entire subplot is that the guy sort of, I checked, it's not like a weird once in a lifetime cameo by Bill Oakley as terrible lawyer dad, which would have been amazing. But the guy vaguely bears a resemblance to Bill Oakley. And like, that's the only highlight of that. So we don't care about that plot. Go away. So the main issue of this movie is that Amelia, you know when people say like, oh, I care too much, and they don't mean that as like a bad thing? In this case, it's very much a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Yeah. It's a screaming at the television bad thing.
It's the reason why this movie makes both of us break out in hives, I think. Because like the movie wants her to be a sympathetic character, and she is sympathetic as a person who is struggling, I guess, like in that she's torn. But if you like think for half a second about any of the characters and any of their actions, they all suck. They're all really terrible, and they're all causing problems for everyone around them, and they can't get out of their own ways. And it's just, I realized, so this is like the third or fourth, or probably like the sixth time I've watched this god awful movie. And like, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get a handle on it and why it was so frustrating to me. And then I think maybe because I watched Hypercube, and now I can think in the fourth dimension.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I think now because I watched Hypercube and my brain is like working like left ways and sideways, I realize it's because every character in this movie is a teenager. Their brain is only functioning at the level of teenager, which is like my need right now. That's all I can think about. And if they have a moment of like compassion or thinking about someone else, it doesn't last too long. Because they can't hold it. They can't hold that in their brain.
They are not in actuality teenagers, but they are maturity-wise, all teenagers.
Yeah, emotional teens.
Yes. They are other women's children.
Oh shit. Did you just bring it home?
I did.
I think you just brought it home.
I did. It makes so much
Jesus.
sense. They're so shitty.
So
All of them.
They suck so much. So because this movie doesn't trust us to understand what's going on, it starts off with Amelia having a dream sequence where she is watching a car. Like she's outside. I think she's having a picnic or something. She turns around. There's a car on the hill next to her, and in the back of the car is Denny, the AIDS child, and Alexander, her own son. And there's no one in the front seat of the car. They're just sitting in the back of this car, which is clearly in neutral, and the car starts rolling backwards down the hill. And she's like, oh no, like my child, like how am I going to save them? And then doesn't the car explode?
I think it runs off a cliff.
Equally subtle.
It's definitely die. And it's not, it was not clear to me for like a third of this movie whether that was like a dream or a flashback.
Well, the first time that I saw it, I did not realize who the second child in the car was. Like, I know Alexander was there because I could hear her say Alexander. I know she says Denny also. I know she shouts out both their names. The first, 2 or 3 times I watched this movie, for some reason, my brain was not working with my eyes and ears to create an image that, made sense to my brain. So I was like, who's this other kid? Is this really happening? What's going on? I didn't understand it.
I thought she had seen these children die, and that's why she cared so much about the kids for so long into the movie.
I mean, that would have made a lot of sense as a motivating thing that she had trauma.
Oh no, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, nope. No, this movie sees you giving it meaning and slaps your hand away.
It's
they don't need any of that shit.
No,
none.
She literally can't leave Denny alone even when she's dreaming.
Yeah. And she sees both, she sees her own son at the same level of danger as this kid who's dying of AIDS. And it makes me mad in both directions. Do you know what I mean? Both ways of looking at it makes me angry. But I will say the only positive from this is because she's dreaming, it means she's in bed, Rachel. And if she's in bed, Rachel, she must be next to her handsome husband, Matt Stewart. And Matt Stewart is, as I said before, played by Garrett Wynn Davies at his 1993 prime.
Oh, peak.
I mean, this movie, I feel like knows it's garbage, but knows that the husband of the main character is touch yourself bait. So what it does is it's masturbatory scene, garbage, masturbatory scene in the middle, more garbage, little bit of masturbatory scene at the end. So it gets you through the valleys with the peaks. So we start off with the best/worst, I don't know. It's not a sex scene. What would you call it? The wake up with morning wood, poke your wife in the back with your dick scene? I don't know.
Shoot your shot scene. Maybe this will be all right. Maybe this will work out.
So what happens is she wakes up and she's had the nightmare. Ger is behind her. We don't see Ger. He's flat. We don't see him at first. And then he pops up behind her. And then of course little Ger pops up behind her. So what happens? let me find my
Ger.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
His Majesty.
Yes, exactly.
Ger, he does his patented characteristic of spider fingers. So he spider fingers her all over her. He starts doing giant sloppy kisses. And he's like, oh, were you dreaming about worms? Were you dreaming about monsters? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, what about a big angry snake?
And then takes her hand
ever so gently, so delicately.
And I think the narrator in every man's head is always just I'm pretty sure if she touches it, she's gonna want it. So why don't we let's just get her to touch it. We'll just put our hand on it. Maybe we'll bump it against her butt. I don't know. We'll just shoot our shot. Because he's just let me.
I'm sinking into my sweater so far right now.
Let me put my hand, your hand, right now. What?
And the first time I watched this movie, I did not catch the hand movement. I knew what he was. I knew what he was doing. I knew what he was saying to her. He's like, "What did you dream about? Like a snake? I have a dick.
Yeah.
Let's fuck."
Yeah.
I didn't catch the first time the hand gesture, and then the second time I caught it, I was like, "Did I will this into existence? What? what just happened? This definitely did not happen last time I watched this movie. What?
It did. It did. You just didn't catch it.
He picks up her hand." like the gentlest, I think, like, you know what? Okay, you know when you see those videos of like a golden retriever picking up a baby duckling in its mouth? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that, but a hand picking up another hand to gently drop it onto his dick. It's just, it's the porno version of a dog picking up the duckling in its mouth. That's what it is. So he like gently like picks it up and then plops it on his dick, and he's like, "Big angry snake," and she goes, "Not that big." And I was like, "Oh,
burn!
Oh,
How dare you insult His Majesty?"
I wanted 6 people to jump up from behind the bed and go, "Oh snap!" and then like disappear. It's so good.
Got you.
I was like, oh, I felt all the emotions. I laughed, I cried, I was scared by the angry snake. Like I felt it all.
I want that to be ad-libbed. I like the whole scene where he did that, and then she's just like, "Not that big."
If that whole scene is ad-lib, then they clearly did not have an intimacy coordinator, but also it's 1993, so I guess already they definitely did not have an intimacy coordinator.
They did not have an intimacy coordinator. No.
It is this movie. I cannot emphasize enough. I cannot stress enough. This movie is not good. The angry snake scene it's a chef's kiss. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's all downhill and then up and then back down and
pretty
then
much
a little up, but mostly downhill from here. It's not Ger's fault. I kind of want.
It's not. No, it's not Ger's fault.
It's not. This is not a acting
Although
issue. This is a Amelia sucks issue.
Right. Well, it's not. So it's not his. So acting wise, I think everyone does a good job. I wasn't being facetious when I said I thought that the little kid who plays Denny was the best actor in the entire movie, because I've never seen a sickly child look so sickly and miserable. Like A plus work from that kid. But it's none of the characters are likable and enjoyable, but like, no, there's no acting problem. I think everyone does a good job. Like they're all fine and good. The sex scenes are great. I fucking love them. The rest of the movie sucks, but it's not a question of acting. I don't want anyone to be like, oh, is this one where Ger didn't care? Oh no, Ger cared a lot in this one. That's why he did a real good job.
He did a real good job.
Real good job. So the movie starts sometime pre-Thanksgiving. It's not really clear to me like how far ahead of Thanksgiving it is. And because they clearly filmed it in the summer, even though the movie ends at Christmas time, it's still clearly like August. It's still very much not winter. Like it doesn't matter if you're in California even. Like it's very much like clearly outside, like warm. Like she's like the most that anyone wears outside is like a flannel shirt or like those long sort of silky looking trench coats that I feel like we had, like top coats, like overcoats that we would wear. We adults in the 90s would wear.
We,
we're not even adults now, let's be honest. So, okay. So the movie starts with Touch My Dick, A+. And then the time between now and Thanksgiving, we just end up basically going back and forth between the two polarizing forces in Amelia's life, which is to say baby Denny and baby Alex / her husband / her family life.
That old thing.
Yeah. So as I said, she's like the head of her department. She's the director of clinical pediatrics. And Ger makes a comment at one point in the movie, like that you took this higher paying job, this like higher status position because we thought that it would make it so you'd have more time for us. Like you're up there. Like it's not like a director that doesn't mean anything. Like you're at the top of your whole department. So they talk about it like she's in charge. And I get that like if you're in charge, like you might have a couple of cases, you might still be like involved sort of in a clinical level. But this movie doesn't seem to understand what her actual job position is, because she will go from like intern level to director of clinical whatever and back and forth anytime that she's on scene with anything at the hospital. Like her job somehow is like all the jobs. Her job is hospital. Like it doesn't make any sense at all. So she has a boss, which makes sense to me, because even if you're director of clinical pediatrics, surely there's like some person who's above you who oversees you. But her boss is like handing her like specific cases, which seems like you wouldn't give that to the director of clinical pediatrics. You're giving that to like some rando doctor in the department. Like you're not giving it to like the chief of that whole department, but whatever. So she's getting like individual cases, like she's a low-level doctor. She's never not on call. Even when she's like, oh, I booked time off for Thanksgiving. Oh, I booked time off for Christmas. Everyone who's under her calls her like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it's like, how do you not have any kind of clinical supervisor? You have one, And if she goes to the bathroom, the whole hospital melts down. Like, is that how this works?
Correct.
Pretty
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
And then her boss, the boss lady, will also be calling her anytime she's not at the hospital, even when she's booked off, being like, there's all these problems and there's all these things that you need to fix and it's all your fault. And I'm like, first off, some of these don't even sound like problems. Like, oh, the failure to thrive baby's parents are taking her out of the hospital. Okay. Oh, okay. Like, she's leaving. And they're like, well, we're going to blame you. And I'm like, are they threatening to sue the hospital? Like what?
I think he's on the board of directors. That's why.
Oh, so he's important, I guess.
The
to keep.
lawyer guy. Yeah, he's on the board
Yeah.
of directors for the hospital. And so if he's leaving, it's like, okay, well, it's going to reflect poorly on the department because he's on the board of directors. It's going to get back to the board of directors that this crazy woman told him that the
Love is
reason
the
his
problem.
daughter was dying is because he didn't love her enough. And the kicker, my favorite part is Amelia's like, that's why she gets better when she's with me because I love her more than you do.
Yeah. That's her esteemed medical advice. It's insane. But it really encapsulates the way that she views every single patient in this hospital. My medical skill is love. None of you are suitable parents for your children. You don't love them enough, and that's why only I can fix them. Like, she's the kind of person who should have like a baby farm somewhere where she just like fosters every child within 50 miles from like the DCFS system and brings them to her big barn full of babies because only she is righteous enough to care for all these people. Like,
Yeah.
she sucks. But yeah, she thinks that like only her love can cure people, which is why this movie is so frustrating to watch on the movie's frustrating on like 85 levels, but this is one of the levels, is that she thinks that like all of her medical advice just boils down to, I have more love for your children than you do. You all suck. Like, okay.
Yeah, than you could ever possibly have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't understand how to love your kids. Only I do. I am the only person with love.
I went to school for this.
For the loving.
Yes, for the loving.
Yeah. So, maybe that's why Ger dropped out. Okay. So she, I don't need your teachings
He was
anymore.
like, nope, sorry. I'm already the master of this. What could you possibly teach me?
Have you met my big snake?
Do women faint in your presence? I think not.
Look, let's be honest. If we had fainted, it would have made a lot more sense to me. What happened is we left our souls and went someplace else.
We did. We disassociated completely. That felt like fainting. It was just like conscious fainting.
I know this whole podcast is a joke, but also like, I don't know what happened to us.
Is it a joke, Meg? Is it a joke?
Yeah, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a hilarious joke. Okay. So
I'm laughing so hard.
these are tears of laughter. Okay, so as we said, there's a failure to thrive baby. So her two main pulls are Denny and her family. So with Denny's being raised by his grandmother. Denny has AIDS and like is about to die. And the movie starts with the grandmother going like, let's just put in the DNR. Like, I watched my daughter die because she's the maternal grandmother of Denny. She's like, I watched my daughter die from this. It was slow and it was painful. Like, I don't want to prolong his life just to keep him miserable. Like, let's just do this. So, again, because Amelia is the only one whose opinion matters somehow, even more than the opinion of the grandmother of this child, who is some kind of legal guardian for him. She will argue with the grandmother and basically tell her that she's a bad grandmother for thinking about putting in the DNR. And then the hospital has a board meeting, it looks like, to discuss implementing the DNR, like whether they should or not. She will argue with the board about whether the DNR needs to be in place. And the whole board is like, this kid has no quality of life. He has AIDS. He's on the verge of dying. He's 5 years old. Like, we've tried all the things that we could try. And they made a comment at one point that like the two things that we could try next would be more harmful to him and could in fact kill him on their own before the AIDS even gets him. Like, what is the point of this? And she's like, no, my love will prevail. Yeah. And then late in the movie, Denny's father, the reformed drug addict, now come to Jesus man, he will pop up out of a hole in the ground and agree with Amelia and be like, yeah, God doesn't want me to do a DNR because I need more time with my son that I didn't spend any time with because I was busy doing drugs. They were great. So I I'm going to argue about the DNR. And then dad spends 5 minutes with this kid and goes, oh shit, wait, yeah, AIDS actually is terrible. This kid is suffering. Holy crap, I had no idea. So, and then dad will end up putting the DNR back. And like Amelia will like end up arguing with and then agreeing with and arguing with everyone in this whole fucking movie about decisions that are not hers to make.
Correct.
Like her personal opinion. I mean, in terms of the DNR, her personal opinion matters insofar as, does this kid have a terminal illness? Because if the kid comes in and he's got the sniffles and grandma's like, DNR, like, no, it's not.
Yeah, that's a step too far. Right.
Yeah. But after Amelia or some other doctor makes the decision that this kid has a terminal illness, like, it's the family's decision about whether there's a DNR. Like, it's not yours. And she's like, no. And she walks in and she's super self-righteous. And then the second, it's really funny, she's super self-righteous about the DNR. And then the second that religious dad comes in, all of a sudden, like, we can't have her agreeing with the religious dad. And so it like flips. It flips. And all of a sudden she's like, okay with the DNR being in the kid's best interest. But like, she will spend every moment of this movie that she's at the hospital. I assume she has other patients and like administrative duties. She doesn't give a shit, because every second she's at the hospital, she will go into this kid's room when no one's there and kiss him on the forehead. She will go into this kid's room when she needs to go to her own child's, like there's like a parent teacher meeting because the kid is having problems at school. She knows that she's late for that. She will go in to see Denny, and Denny's like, will you read me a story? And she's like, okay. And she sits there and reads him a book. And it's frustrating because like the individual actions she's taking are so compassionate, but they are so inappropriate for her as the doctor.
Yes.
And she's doing it at the expense of her own family every fucking time, like all day long.
And the grandmother does not want her to do it.
Yeah. She makes that very clear.
Yeah, the grandmother's like, please fucking stop. He's not your child. And she's like, but have you considered that I'm better at this than you are?
Have you considered that I'm a white lady with a savior complex?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I know what's best for Denny, and you don't.
For everyone, in fact.
For everyone.
Yeah. And everyone who disagrees with me is just a callow, hard-hearted monster person. And I am the Mother Teresa of this hospital. Like, I give and I give and I give. And it's like, ugh.
Didn't Mother Teresa just get in trouble for actually...
Oh, no, yeah. No, she was actually a terrible person, it turns out.
Yeah.
But I can't think of another person. If I remember correctly, there was something about, like, it's good to be in poverty and God wants you to suffer and et cetera, et cetera.
So, yeah, Amelia kind of was the Mother Teresa. That's what I was getting at. It's apt on many levels. Like in the 90s when we all thought Mother Teresa was Mother Teresa. And then now when we realize that Mother Teresa is actually not great. And you're like, oh, kind of like Amelia. Where I think in the 90s she would have read as like caring, concerned doctor. And now you're like,
oh, yeah.
There are boundaries.
Yeah, in the 90s she would have been, I mean, like she's obviously like the protagonist anyways. But in the 90s she would have been read as like totally flawless, like totally selfless, and like it's just because the whole point of this movie in the 90s is like it's hard to be a woman and have a family and a job. That's the point of this movie. Yeah. But like it's hard for her because she's not doing her job and she's not doing her family. She's being bad at both of them so aggressively. That's why it's hard for you, because you're so bad at this. This is the one time that culture is not to blame. This is the one time it's you. It's you.
It's you. It's Amelia. Yeah. It's bad character.
So that's like the whole Denny thing, and they will eventually allow Denny to die. And like once Denny dies, like then she's like, oh yeah, no, I have a family, and like that fixes her fucking problem pretty much. But before Denny is dead, she will. So when she's ignoring the family for Denny, her family is suffering. So we've got her son Alex, who, like you said, is in preschool. He's going to some fancy private preschool. He's causing problems. He's not sharing. And then Ger puts donuts in his lunch, and the school is like, he can't have donuts, that'll make them all crazy, and they have to have a whole like PTA meeting, which is so eye-rollingly obnoxious about. But like, so like there are these meetings, and like they're silly, but they're still your kid. They're meetings about your kid. You need to show the fuck up for your kid.
Yes.
Like he's gonna become like an attention seeker. He's like, spend some fucking time with him. Like give him attention now so he doesn't pay women for attention later. Okay? Spend time with this kid.
Yeah.
I just like, she just ignores him and then is like, why is he so sad? Like, I promised you something I promised you gummy bears. Like, isn't that good enough? Like, no.
I took you to the hospital with me. So what if you had to fall asleep in the waiting room while I wasn't there?
So sad. Anytime that she carves out time to spend with her son, her beeper will go off and it'll be Denny, because like we said, anytime, like even when she's called out from work, she's never called out from work.
Never.
Somehow she's both like the supervisor and, like I said, the very bottom of the barrel, and she's always on call. And I guess like no one else can see Denny but her, so if Denny farts, like her beeper explodes, she has to drag her own son to the hospital where he will fall asleep in the waiting room a whole bunch. Like, it's just so miserable.
She went back to see Denny to draw blood.
Yeah. Surely there's a phlebotomist somewhere in the hospital who is competent enough
like,
to draw blood from this kid.
No, she literally told him, she was like, no, I'm the only one that can ever get this. And you're like,
yeah, no one can do it but me. This movie is brain breaking. Because like I said, if this movie were set in like her first year of, what do you call it? When it's like, when you're like your residency. Yeah. Then like it would sort of make sense to me, because like when you're at the bottom of the barrel with grunt, like, yeah, probably you're going to be working terrible hours. You're going to have a hard time being there for like your kid's PTA meeting. When she's focusing on Denny, she's ignoring her kid and her husband to devastating effect, because Alex is acting out at school. He's not sharing. There are like parent teacher meetings that she just refuses to show up at. So it's not like she's doing her residency where she's got like weird, like 40 hours over like 2 days shifts, and she's like asleep during the day and awake all night, like where she wouldn't be able to make his PTA meetings, or like there's like nothing that makes any sense, because she's supposed to be like far up enough the ladder that she's not like
a hospital director. Yeah,
that she's not like glued to any one particular case. And like if she has to leave for something, she can, because she's the director of this whole fucking department. Like, it makes no sense. Even Ger's character calls out how it doesn't make any sense. And the movie's like, but she cares too much. Like, no, that's not, that's poor writing. That doesn't excuse any of this shit. You can't be like, shrug. No, you can't call it out and then shrug at it. That's not acceptable. That doesn't work. So he's got problems at school. Anytime that he's going to spend time with her, she's like, oh, Denny farted. I have to go back to the hospital. And the kid is like crying and having tantrums. And you feel for this kid because she just ignores him all the time. And then she's like, well, what if I buy you Chinese food? Will that shut your fat face up? And like, don't do that. Don't teach him to fill his sorrow with Chinese food, because that doesn't end well.
We know how that goes.
I know. We know how that goes. We know.
I'm sad. I should probably eat something.
Yeah. Don't. You're a doctor. You should know it, like, not to train that mindset.
She's not a child psychiatrist, Meg. She doesn't know that.
Maybe this movie would have been better if she did. But then on the other side of the family problems, we have her husband, Matt, who, like we say, movie wants you to know that he's smart because he went to med school. He was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. And then at some point he was like, fuck this shit. I'm going to go flip houses. So he does go flip houses. And all he wants is to put a baby in her. That's all he wants. Let him put a baby in you.
Man's got needs.
He's got a big angry snake and he wants to stick a baby in you.
Come
let's
on.
have that movie. Yeah. It's not that much of an ask. Okay. So
they already wanted another kid, like, to be clear. Yeah, they'd already discussed it. No.
Yeah, no, that's not like me like reading into it. They say specifically like we were gonna, but then you're never home long enough for me to stick a baby. like I need 10 minutes. Like, she's never home long enough. So and then like I said earlier, this movie, everyone is like a teenager in this movie. So Ger's character, he plays in like a pickup basketball league, and he's like, I want you to come to my games. I want you to watch me play basketball. Watch me play basketball, wife. And she's like, because I choose to work 23 hours a day to only stare at Denny outside his window and like pine dramatically over him and not do any actual medical work. And he's like, well, like some of the other wives, like they don't even know if I'm married. And I'm like, oh, ding. I think I hear a characteristic.
Right there.
I think I hear a characteristic, because the wife even says, I don't remember if it's to him or she doesn't have time for anyone except for her sassy lunch friend that she drinks wine with. So I don't remember if she says it to the sassy wine friend or if she says it to Ger. But she's like, yeah, no, it must be to wine friend because she's like, yeah, everyone likes to look at his butt. And I was like, yes, characteristic, crossing it off the list. Yep, someone told him he was pretty. Thumbs up. Okay. So like this really proves my theory that the more characteristics a movie has, the worse quality the movie is. Because it's sort of like, it feels like he's playing bingo with himself. Do you know what I mean? Like if he's having a good time and it's like a good role, then he like does the role. But if he's sitting there going like, oh shit, another sex mummy, he's like, how many characteristics can I like squish, how many can I put in there? I'm not wrong. You know I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
No, it's making the red strings come together.
He really liked playing in Hypercube.
Oh, fuck, maybe.
And Ikwe, because Ikwe didn't have very many either.
Well, in Ikwe, he had, I think he probably had an actual mental breakdown, judging by the Wee Willy Winky nightmare scene. Anyways, so... Okay, so in this one, he wants to put a baby in her. He wants her to watch him play basketball. All the wives think he's pretty, and he needs to have the wife there so that they don't, I guess, like molest him as a group. I don't know.
Come save me.
And also, there's a preschool teacher, Rachel, and she really cares. Rachel, she cares so much about Alexander, and what a special child he is.
Well, she sees a lonely husband is what she sees. And she's like, do you need additional childcare? Would you like me to come to your house at night? Can I sleep on your chest?
I'm also a registered herpetologist. So if you need help with that big angry snake, I'm here for that. Yeah.
Snake wrangling, top of the list.
I'm sorry, what was that little hand gesture you just did?
I did like an okay symbol, but it just was in the side of your thing, so it looked like I did
looked like something a little different. It looked like a different way for Karen feeding up the pet snake.
It's fine.
So only the nice snake. Okay, so there is a preschool teacher, Alex's preschool teacher at the school. And at first it's just sort of like, oh, isn't it nice that there's like someone else looking out for this kid? And I think like from the point of view of the preschool teacher, that's all that she thinks that she is just like this kid like needs, like the family needs like an extra helping hand. Like, I don't mind. I'm young and perky. Like I can help out. So it starts out with her just being like taking an interest in him. And then she'll end up talking to Ger about Thanksgiving plans, and Ger's like, oh my God, your plans fell through? Do you want to come to our house? And you can see wife Amelia, like, are you fucking inviting like someone else to our giant family Thanksgiving dinner without asking me like right the fucking front? Is that what's happening right now? Like you can see like her eyebrow like start twitching like she's having an aneurysm. But
as would mine.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like if she were a normal character, I'd be like, oh, the Ger character was out of line. But also like, bitch, you're not involved in your home life at fucking all. Are you even going to be at Thanksgiving? Do you know who's going to be there? Like, are you just going to do a drive-by out your window on the way to visit Denny? Like,
spoiler alert, no, she will not.
No, she will not,
time. Yeah.
Pretty much. So, so the preschool teacher will show up at Thanksgiving dinner. Tom Cavanaugh will be like, I'm going to hit that. And Ger's like, no, she's a sensitive, smart woman. And I was like, oh, is she? Is she Ger? Is that?
I am already hitting that.
Back off. So, and then she will bring the child to Ger's basketball game around Christmas time. Ger will then leave the child with the preschool teacher, so that he can go with his friends, like drinking and shit for like their Christmas party. And then she will bring the child back to the family home where Ger will also be. And then when Amelia finally gets home from work, the tableau is that Ger is lying asleep on his back on the couch. Child Alexander is curled up on Ger's chest, also asleep and like kind of sick. On the floor, curled up like a fucking house cat, is the preschool teacher. Like, fucking what? What? Like this movie like gives you all the insignia of an affair happening while making very clear that an affair is not happening. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. It's like that should be what happens in this movie, is that the Ger character, because again, he's just basically like a happy-go-lucky dick with a face on it, should be going, I'm not getting attention at home. Here's the hot nubile preschool teacher. I'm going to hit that. And then the divorce happens. The divorce that is threatened happens. Like that is what this, like, it's weird that it gives you all these signposts. And then it's like, oh wait, no, this is a TV movie. We don't have time for that shit. We don't have time for that shit. Cut it all. Happy ending. And you're like, what? Anyways, missed opportunity. But when the preschool teacher leaves, like when Ger like jumps up to like escort her out of the house, he does my favorite characteristic, which is to say spider hands. He does spider hands all over her back and like down the small of her back to like gently lead her out the door. And I was like, that's not the character. That is the actor.
Those fingers did some talking and walking.
Okay, so that's basically like the setup, the situation with the family. So we've got family on one side, we've got Denny on the other side. As I say, the movie does, like, it starts some amount of time before Thanksgiving, and then we end up getting Thanksgiving dinner, where we get to meet Ger's parents, who suck and are doctors and are very waspish, and they will bring what they're calling goulash. And I realized that last time we talked about this, I wasn't super clear with what I meant. So there's this thing that you have seen and that I've seen, and I've tried to like find.
Yeah, it's a Midwestern
thing.
Yes,
I've tried to find like if there is like a term for this, and I can't. What?
Goulash.
No. If there's a term, so yes, but no. So okay. So essentially, what happens is so. Ger's family, they read on screen like they're wasps, like they're very white, like they're like Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right?
Yeah.
Ger's mother keeps talking about goulash. I made goulash when you guys were dating. I'm gonna bring goulash to Thanksgiving dinner, and Amelia's like I've got a full. I don't need you to bring any extra plates, and she's like, no. Goulash is the thing I make. It's my son's favorite dish. I'm gonna make it. I love goulash. I'm gonna make goulash for him. Anyways, his family is like really white and terrible, and I hate them. But so we have like a Thanksgiving dinner, and of course, in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, Amelia gets the phone call, and she has to go and rush to see Danny for no fucking reason. So that's kind of the first time that we get any kind of a sense of time, and it doesn't matter except just like it's more showing like the family tension, and then we get the information that Ger went to med school, I guess, to prove that he's not just a dumb musclehead. Like who gives a shit? But I guess like in the movie, it sort of felt like it was important to show he was smart.
Yeah, they're like, he's not just a blue collar worker. He could have been a doctor. He chose not to be. That's how you know he's valid. God.
Yeah. But it's not even like he's like a construction worker. Because then maybe you'd be like, how did this doctor and this construction worker meet? But no, he's the guy that's flipping the houses. That feels like a different. That feels like a higher status level thing.
It's the 90s. Doctor was code for like wealthy, smart person. And
I feel like house flipper is code for just at least wealthy person.
Now.
Yeah, maybe then it wasn't.
In the era of HGTV, yeah. But then it was like, no, he works with his hands. Gross.
Yeah. Except the movie also would like us to appreciate that he worked with his hands, because now we come to the second sweaty scene of this movie, which is chef's kiss. So good. So wife Amelia has felt bad about ignoring Ger because he got needs. Okay, he's got needs. So she goes to visit him at the house that he's working on flipping. It's the one of the like 1.5 scenes where we meet Tom Cavanaugh. He's leaving the house while she's going in, and he's like, oh, do you want me to like tell Gary you're here? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, code for sex, got it. And he drives away on his motorcycle, rides away on his motorcycle. So she shows up because like Gary keeps being like, I'm flipping all these houses, like I'm doing all this work, like you don't even ask me about it, like you're not even. He's like, all you do is talk about your work, and she's like, well, you talk about your work, and he's like, yeah, and when I do, you're like your eyes glaze over, and you like go somewhere else in your soul, like why don't you care? So she shows up to the house with a giant picnic basket. He's upstairs, doing all that hard physical manual labor with his hands. He's all sweaty and stuff. It's fine. It's good. She goes up the stairs.
So hard.
He works so hard. He's so good with his hands. So she goes up the stairs, and he's like, oh my God, he brought me a picnic and also food. So they spread the blanket on the floor, and he's talking about. He's like, okay, God bless him. So I like Ger. I think he's a great actor. Do I think he has any knowledge about woodworking? No, I do not. So she spreads the little blanket on the picnic blanket on the ground of like whatever one of the rooms is upstairs that he's working on. So he's talking about like the things that he's fixing. He's like, that doorknob didn't used to be there, and that door I fixed, and I planed that, and I sanded that, and like he's trying to talk about like fixtures, like he's like really proud of all the fixtures, and I'm just like, sir,
Yeah.
do you remember when you were trying to fix the tractor in Deadly Harvest?
Yeah, or in this movie where you were folding clothes and then putting them in the washer.
Oh, we're gonna get there. That's sex scene number 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's like, it's sort of, but it's exactly like when he was trying to fix the tractor in Deadly Harvest, and he's like, what if I turn the bolt this way? I'm going to turn the bolt this way now. I'm going to turn the bolt left, and then a little bit turn the bolt right. It's like I know how to fix things. And I'm just like, sir, you seem good with your hands, but not in a mechanical way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Stick with your strengths.
it would be like me being like, yeah, no, these doorknobs are made of metal and they fit real good in the door. And I screwed them in myself with a Phillips head screwdriver. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did it. I did repairs. I'm good at repair.
All by myself.
Yeah, like when Ken's like, my job is beach. I'm like, is your job door? Is that what your job is?
No, his job is women.
I know. His job is snake.
Yeah,
so
and he knows his business.
I know, but it was really funny because he's just like naming shit that he sees. Like it was like start less talking. So they're sitting there on the picnic blanket, and they start undressing each other. And you get, if I remember correctly, you get like a little bit of naked Ger shoulder, back of shoulder, which
you
is
do like a clavicle.
Yeah, just which is like pure. It's like
light
for him.
clavicle. Yeah,
yeah. Getting to see the clavicle is like a full frontal in any other movie. So just appreciate the gift we've been given. Okay. And then so he's like, oh, by the way, I invited Tom Cavanaugh's character and also my parents to Thanksgiving, and my mom is definitely going to bring her non-Hungarian goulash. And somehow that does not dampen the mood, I guess, because he's got that field of magnetism that is just so intense. So he says my favorite line I think I've ever heard in any movie ever, because he's shirtless. He leans over to her and he goes, "Let us give thanks." And then starts, and I was like, okay, all right. I mean,
that was a good one.
First off, good job at taking the least sexual holiday and turning it into somehow the most sexual holiday, because now in my list of sexual holidays, Thanksgiving is number 1. It is way at the top above all. It's Thanksgiving and then like 6 slots down Valentine's Day. Like that is the level of like just pure sexual heat he brings to let us give thanks. Okay. All right, sir.
Yep,
all right. All right.
Yep, no notes.
Yeah, the movie knew that we had to cool down because then it goes right back to being terrible. So then we end up having some more of the whole give and take between like, how can I work my job 75 hours a day and also ignore my family? How is that a problem? Who cares? So,
Denny.
Yeah.
Denny.
Pretty much.
Denny.
Alex? No. Denny.
No. Denny.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's.
Oh, you tried running away from me and taking him home so that I couldn't get to you. Joke's on you.
I followed you home. She follows them to their fucking house.
Your address is in your file, bitch. I just followed the sound of sirens because that's where black people live.
Yeah. She lives above a wig store. If anyone was like, how racist is this movie? Very, very racist.
Very,
yeah.
Very.
All the way racist.
Just straight, just raw dog, all of it.
She's religious and lives above a wig shop. Like, was this racist bingo when you guys were filming this? Like, what was it? But yeah, so it's just a bunch more of like just her being insufferable, and I'm the only one that's smart. I'm the only one that cares. And why does no one see how hard I care? I will ignore my child, ignore my husband. It's fine. So we will end up having like the Ger husband. His character is interesting in that I don't think he's well written. I think he's super underwritten, but it almost plays like depth because of just how underwritten he is. Because he's like, give me some attention. Oh wait, you have a difficult job. I'm gonna like support you. Wait, no, give me more attention. Oh no, your job is difficult. I support you. So when he's like back on the upswing, he will try and help out at home. And this fucking character, like I know. In this I feel like this movie wants us to be like, oh, he is trying. But from a 2024 perspective, this character just seems, like I said, like a giant teenager who doesn't know how to think outside of himself and can't help anyone for more than 25 seconds. And then focus ends up going right back to himself and his dick. And it's just so frustrating because it's like, you're not helping like a spouse. You're helping like the 14-year-old boy at home, and you think that you're doing a good job and you're just making everything worse. And like, I'm not saying that Amelia is not terrible. She is the most terrible character in this movie, but like, I need the husband character to step up just a fucking inch.
Yeah.
So like, he's helping with the lunches. How is he helping? He's just throwing fucking donuts in there. Sir, this child is 5 years old. You're throwing like giant jelly donuts in there and going, done.
Yeah.
Denzo, that's a lunch, right? I'll throw some Pall Malls in there too. Cigarettes and donuts. That's what I have for lunch. Probably he's fine. And then, like, yes, he's going to the PTA meetings and stuff, but he's just charming everyone with his dick. Like, that's not so much parenting as just like, ladies, okay, fine, that fixes this meeting, but like, eventually they're gonna be able to breathe through the fumes, Ger, and they're gonna realize you have not fixed the problems with your son. Like, he's not spending time with the son. Like, you never see him take the kid to the beach or the park or anything, or like doing anything with the kid, but he's always blaming the wife about it all the fucking time. Because he wants to go out and play basketball with his friends. It's your job to have quality time with him. It's my job to like just plane some stuff and hit on the preschool teacher and then go shoot some hoops with some guys we never see. Like, I need you to step up more. So then we get to a scene where he apparently, I think he contributes like half a dish to Thanksgiving dinner. And even his own parents are like, oh, this is not food. This is not edible. Great. So then we get to a scene where he's on the upswing again. He's like trying to help Amelia, and he's doing laundry. But as you said, I don't know if the character is meant to be bad at this, or if Garrett Wynn Davies has never had to fold a shirt in his whole life because he just has women throwing themselves at him being like, no, I got it, Garrett, I'll fold it.
Yeah.
50-50 chance. I feel like, because as you said, he's in the laundry room. I think what he's meant to be doing is pulling clothing out of the dryer, putting it on top of the dryer, folding that clothing and putting it away. But the order seems to be wrong because it sort of seems like he's folding it and then shoving it into the machine. And the way he's folding it is like, I'm not the best at doing laundry. Like, I get frustrated very easily because like I want some kind of like Minecraft world where if I iron enough, the shirt will have like square edges and there's no visible, like, not even wrinkles. I'm talking about that thing where like fabric moves. I don't want that. Yeah. I want my clothing to be rock hard when I iron it. And because that's not possible in physics, I always feel like I'm ironing wrong and I have like yet to achieve the Zen like perfection of a master ironer. And that's on me. That's fine. But even knowing that knowing that I'm not great at laundry and ironing and like I get frustrated at the end of it, I still feel like Ger has never folded his shirt in his whole fucking life. The way that his arms and hands are like, it looks like in Spirited Away, the guy that works in the basement with the soot sprites and he has like the 9-mile long arms.
Yes.
Yeah, he's sort of like a spider but a human man. It's like if you give that guy a shirt to fold. That's what's happening with Ger's upper torso. He's just like bringing the arm in from like 5 miles away. We're gonna sleeve, other sleeve, and I'm like, sir, you're stressing me out. Like, is this how you do it? Is this weaponized incompetence? Because you make me want to reach through the screen and fold your shirt for you. It's making my hands clammy. I don't know why you're so bad at this. He's like, look, I'm helping. I mashed the shirt into a pile. I mashed those shirts into several piles. I did it. I'm just like, be less. But the wife comes in and she's like, we haven't seen each other in 5 minutes and your only need is the sex. And I clearly have just had a shower. Do you want the sex? And he looks at her and he's like, you seem tired. Go away. And I was like, well, that's clearly the most acting that he had to do in this entire movie.
Yeah,
that must have been very painful.
Are we sure I would tell her no? Are we sure? Like, I know it says it in the script, but she showed up naked. I just don't feel like my character would tell her no.
I'm folding laundry. It is the traditional gift to the naked woman. So is this not the point in the mating ritual where we get it on against the 30-year-old washing machine? Like, no? I am confused by this character. I don't. It's very complex, this role. I don't get it. I will study this role. So he turns her away. And my favorite part of the scene, I'm like a child. Okay. So Ger is what 5'10", maybe 5'11", because he was younger, a little taller. The actress who plays Amelia is like 5'4", 6'5", maybe. Like, she's very short compared to him. So when he's standing there looking down at her, he's looking down so low that he sort of looks like he's just looking at his own dick, which he does. I forgot to mention this earlier. He does during the picnic scene. They're sitting there right before he's like, let us give thanks. He's sitting there looking at her. He looks down at his dick like he found a surprise. It's so good.
Oh, look. Look who joined us. Oh my God.
All that was missing was like, ta-da.
Beat me, Stew.
He's awake. So like it's like so in the picnic scene, like it's intentional because he literally like he looks down, a beat happens, he looks up and he's smiling like a shit-eating grin. It's so good. He's like, what? Look at that. I did that. So but then in this scene, I don't think it's intentional. I think he honestly is just looking down at her because she is shorter than him, and that's the angle you have to tilt your head. But she is so much shorter and she is standing so close to his body because again, like you said, she naked after the shower. She's like, I'm not going to put a towel on. I don't need this shit. Just fucking bare ass through the house trying to find Ger mashing laundry into piles like he did something to help. And he's looking down and he just looks like he's looking at his own crotch again like, sir, not now. It is not our time.
This isn't the moment. I get where you're going, but we're about to say no, bro.
Look, I'm confused too. I don't.
It's in the script. It's in the script, man. I can't.
So this is sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We get towards Christmas time, and again, we have the weaponized incompetence of Ger, because for whatever reason, our character Amelia, as I said, she's the director of her fucking department, but also she has to work a shift at the ER in the middle of the night at Christmas time.
Yes.
She's running around, and like, I feel like, and like, I know that we have a sizable contingent of doctors who listen to this because this is a quality podcast production. So let me know if I'm incorrect, doctors of podcast land. But I feel like when you're working the ER, probably not every single patient who comes in is a baby that's like been set on fire. Like probably there's like every like fourth or fifth or like 15th one, it's someone that like came in just because like it was late and the other doctors weren't open, or they came in and they've got like a broken arm and you can fix the broken arm, but they're not like, they haven't broken like all of their arms and legs and their like intestines are like in a shopping bag in their lap. Like probably not everyone is like the worst thing you've ever seen. But the night that Amelia works, everyone is the worst thing that anyone's ever seen. A baby fell out like a 3rd-story window, I think, onto some concrete. Weren't they like all child cases?
Yeah,
weirdly?
they're all children. And one of them is like legit screaming. Like somebody stabbed that child on purpose before they put them on screen and was like, squeal for me. And then it was like, ah!
Yeah, I do feel like all of the child acting in this movie is so good that I'm concerned. Hear me out, that it's not acting.
That it's not. See, that was my point at the very beginning.
Yeah, with Denny. Poor Denny. I don't know. I'm hoping he wasn't actually a child with AIDS. But I do feel like every time they put him on screen,
he really was. Yeah.
I do feel like every time they put him on screen, somebody poked him with like a hat pin. They like stabbed him, and they're like, "All right, like we're like, hold broken glass in your hand so you look miserable." Because that kid looked like the saddest, most miserable. Like, I'm about to die. Please, Jesus, let me die. I just anyways. But yeah, this kid. The kid who is screaming when they're having the ER moment, when they leave the child, like when they put the curtain back around the kid's bed, that kid is still screaming so loud, like the Foley artists or whatever, or the sound guys could not dampen it. They have to scream over the sound of this weeping, screaming, flailing baby. It's just, this movie is stressful to watch in every way that it could be stressful to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, just, it's not good, but also I think they hurt children. I'm concerned. So, yeah, so every case in the ER that night, I don't remember, there's the one kid who's flailing, and I think they're like, maybe it's heart problems, but maybe it's a cold, because like those are the only 2 options. And then there's the kid that falls out like a 3rd-story window, face down onto some concrete, and is covered in blood. Like, every single thing that comes in is just like the worst case you've ever heard. And Ger is at home watching Alex, and he keeps calling her at the hospital and being like, I don't know, he seems like he's got the sniffles. What am I going to do? And she's like, there's cough medicine. He's like, I can't find it? She's like, it's in the one drawer where the cough medicine has always fucking been. And he's like, could you just come home? Your kid needs you. He wants to talk to you. And she's like, okay, can you put him on the phone real quick? I'm on my 35-second break before like an army of, nuns with knives in their forehead show up like in their bus. And he's like, well, if he talks to you, then it's going to make him more sad. And then I'm going to have to deal with it. Like it's like Napoleon Dynamite. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, you're the fucking father. You're the fucking father. Like, yeah, like do something. Suck less.
It's like, where's the thermometer? I can't find the thermometer.
The phone call would have made as much sense if she had picked it up and he had been like, hello. And then hung up. Like that is as helpful as he fucking is. Just like a toddler tantrum. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But the first time he calls, it's very much like, I think he has a cold. And she's like, just fucking deal with it. So then later, he calls and he goes, the kid is not speaking. He doesn't appear to be able to hear me. What do I do? And I'm like, are you shitting me? Are you fucking shitting me? You called like before when it was a cold and I was annoyed at you. But now it's like, I don't know. I think he's dead. Do I do something? Do I bury it? Bring him to the hospital, jackass. Like I was so angry at this character, at this like weaponized level of incompetence. And he's like mad at her for not coming home. And she's like, if he can't talk and he can't hear, and I think also he's got like a fever of like 175 or something, like the thermometer is exploding like the second it touches his body. Put him in the car. Put him in the fucking car. I am not a parent and I am mad on behalf of all parents based on this. I'm like, this seems like I know that there are things that like you learn as you go. I feel like if his head's spinning around and he's like speaking in Latin and he's like floating an inch above his bed, bring him to the fucking hospital. Yeah. Do something with this kid. Take care of him. So they bring him to the hospital, and I don't remember what was wrong with him. I know at one point he has chickenpox.
Yeah, chickenpox, and one of his chickenpox became septic, like became infected.
Oh, that's right, because they pull off his clothes and he's got that gross fucking seeping wound under his armpit.
Randy's like, well, here's your problem right here. You got a little bit of an infected chickenpox, and he's like, oh, okay, thanks, Randy.
We haven't talked about him because he doesn't matter. Like no one in this movie matters. But there's a doctor, and isn't he like Randy or something?
Yeah, they're even like, gross. Oh God, lecherous Randy's at it again, and you're like, Randy's an HR problem. Like Randy needs to be fired. Yeah, and he has one moment of shining competence in this entire movie, and it's right now. Yeah, because he's like the ER doctor, and so she takes Alex to him, and that's when her husband gets mad. When Ger gets mad, not Ger, but her husband, Ger. But he's like, no, you need to take care of him. And she's like, I'm fucking doing everything else. He's taken care of. Like Randy, despite appearances, knows what he's doing.
Well, and she even says, like, I am not allowed to take care of my own child. Like, that's a hospital rule. And I'm like, oh, you care about hospital rules now? What about sleeping by the side of Denny and ignoring his grandmother's DNR and like kissing him and going to his fucking house? Where were the hospital rules then? But okay, for your own kid, you're like, I don't know, the handbook.
And giving him your child's present.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It happens at least 2 separate times where she takes a toy of her son's, and it's not like, oh, he doesn't play with this anymore, which is still not good. It's like it would be understandable maybe, but these are toys that you have seen Alex play with in one scene, and the very next scene she's like, oh my God, I just happened to have stolen my child's toy and it's in my pocket. Would you like this toy, Denny?
She's like, well, he really liked this. It must have been fun. I'm gonna give that to Denny. Denny will like it.
Yes. She makes a specific statement of how much her kid likes this toy. Let me now give it away. And I was like, ma'am, you're just like, I've never hated someone for caring before. And I'm mad at her for caring. My God, like just go home and fuck your husband. Do you know what I mean? Like, get that caring out. He needs caring too, okay? Just like get all that extra caring energy out, and then you can care just the right amount. I've never said this before, but any doctor. I've never seen a doctor in real life and been like, you know what? They care too much. I have never had that experience personally.
Never.
I've had the exact opposite experience generally, where I'm like, hi, will you look at me in the face? Please, that would be nice. Will you like deal with my like disorders and shit? Will you like help me get better? No, you don't care. Okay, here's a $25 copay. See you next month. But no, for Dr. Amelia, I'm like, you know what? You could take a page out of all these doctors' books. Give less of a shit. Give no shits. Give no shits and work your way up to some sort of appropriate level, like medium level of shit to give. Because you give the amount of shits that you give is legally problematic, ethically dubious. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So we end up having the scene where Gary's like, oh, I gotta take care of my own kid. Oh, he just happens to be septic. It's fucking fine. God, everyone's making a big deal out of me not wanting to deal with this. So we end up getting them home, and Amelia is still working her shift at the hospital. So she gets home a lot later.
Did he already say, I hate you for leaving me with this?
I kind of glossed over that part, but yeah.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. When she's like, can you kind of take care of your own offspring? Because you want another one, and maybe I need to feel reassured that you can handle this. And he's like, I hate you for leaving me with this.
Yeah, the movie will sort of gloss over that too, frankly.
Yeah, and she's like, I forgive you. It's fine. Even though that's like, I'm sorry,
the worst thing. The worst thing I could ever imagine.
You hate me for letting you be a dad?
But could I stick another one in you, please?
Yeah, but can we have more babies? I don't know. It doesn't kind of sound like we can.
Yeah. Just when I said that every character in this movie is the worst, that was not exaggeration. They are the actual worst. It goes Hitler and then every character in this movie on the chart of the worst.
Except Denny.
No, because I think that they were actually beating the shit out of this Denny kid right before they rolled cameras on him.
Yes.
Because otherwise, he deserves all the awards.
Denny
all
and
the
Denny's
awards.
Grandmother, who clocks immediately how toxic Amelia is.
Yeah, but no one's going to listen to her.
Like when she's trying to read to him, when the grandmother is trying to read to Denny, and Amelia comes in and starts saying the lines before she can say them. Amelia, get the fuck out of the room.
I feel like that encapsulates the problem with Amelia in a nutshell. Because when you're watching this in 1993, you're like, she cares so much. She wants to read the story to the kid. She wants to like be part of this emotional moment with this kid and like show this kid that she cares. Looking at it now, you're going, it's a doctor who's overstepping her boundaries and overstepping this private moment between grandmother and grandson, where the grandmother is bonding with her sickly grandson who's about to die, and you just marched your dumb white ass in there. Like, I get to be part of every scene. Let me just take over this moment, and now it's my moment. Like, just...
Yeah. Remember that time when you were reading, but I knew all the lines by heart already, so I could just say them without having to read them?
That is the creepiest. I noticed that too. I was like, that's the weirdest thing. Like, I know that Goodnight Moon is not like a Shakespeare soliloquy. Like, I know you didn't have, it's not going to be that hard to memorize all of Goodnight Moon. There's like 22 words in the whole book probably. But also, what kind of a sociopath has memorized Goodnight Moon? Like, that just, I feel like that's a sign. Like, if you have that memorized, like, it's, I don't know, it creeped me out. It was like you just popped up out of the shadows reciting Goodnight Moon. Like, that is a La Croix from Forever Night Moon. It's weird. It's creepy. So Ger gets home with the son before she gets home when she gets home. So she gets to the house and Ger and the kid aren't there. They have like dragged a dirty mattress somehow into the not quite finished fuck pad house that Ger's working on building. And Ger, even though I empathize with the Matt character, with Ger's character, I don't like this scene. It stresses me out so much because he is physically violent with her. And the movie doesn't recognize it as physical violence.
Well, I think in the 90s it wouldn't have read as that.
It would not have read as that.
I don't think so. No.
At all. I agree entirely. But like watching it now, I was like, oh, I don't like this. So what happens is she shows up at the house because I guess maybe he only works on one house at a time. But so she knows. She's like, I bet it's this house. So she goes to the house he's working on. The door's open. She sees him in there. He's like, yes, I have the kid here. Like, he's sleeping on this dirty old mattress I just piled up in the corner. He's fine. I'm not coming home. You don't care about him. You don't care about me. There's no time for any of us. And basically threatens her with a divorce. And she's like, I want to see my son. Like, he was sickly. Like, he was at the hospital. Like, he's my son. I want to see him. And Ger physically blocks her from getting further into the house. It's like there's like two two open doorways essentially from whatever that main room is. It's like front door, main room, and then there's like a wall with two cut out door portals basically in it. And when she tries to go through one, he blocks her. She spins around, tries to go through the other, and he physically blocks her and like manhandles her out of the house. It's just, and he doesn't even just say like, your priorities are out of whack and I'm going to divorce you. It's, your priorities are out of whack, I'm going to divorce you, and you're never going to see your son ever again, is basically what he implies to her. Like,
So business as usual, but also don't
threaten. I mean, that's like, it's not just like, I'm sad and this doesn't seem to be working. Like we're at an impasse and I'm like concerned and we got to talk about it. Or I've thought a lot about this and I can't do this anymore. We need to have a divorce. Like it's not that conversation. It's all of a sudden really malevolent. Like I will keep him from you. And she's like, I will fight you. And he's like, you don't have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
There's a lot of deep-seated resentment in that conversation.
Oh yeah. Like the movie that this movie could be, it could be like Dracula. Do you know what I mean? Like Dracula the series, where you're just like you don't expect much, and then all of a sudden it like throws out these gut punches, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? And that's what this scene is, because he literally says, you don't have the time to fight me for a kid.
It would feel more impactful if we hadn't just had the like petulant dad scene where he was like, I don't know where the thermometer is and I don't know what to do. If it had been like, should I bring him in? And she's like, no, he's fine. And then he keeps getting sicker and she's not answering her calls. And then he comes in and she doesn't even see him in the emergency room. Like if we'd had this moment where she realized how little she was actually paying attention to her own son.
She barely does. Every time that realization comes to her, it immediately becomes fleeting because she's like, oh, wait, Denny.
Right.
But no, you're right. If the movie had paid any more attention to the Ger character and made him at all like a competent, and like I think it sort of thinks it's made him a competent dad, but like by the 90s standards, that bar was the ankle high.
Pretty low.
Pretty low. But like, if they had made him like a competent, equal caregiver, or in fact, like what they're trying to do, which is to make him the primary caregiver for this kid, like the one who like knows what he wants for lunch and like shows up to the school meetings and like tries to fix the problems and helps him with his homework and gets him bathed and brushes his teeth and like does all the things that shows that he's the one taking care of this kid and that she's not involved at all. But instead, it's sort of like, well, this is woman's work. So he's doing as much as he can as a father, as a man, in that the kid's alive. Okay. And when he almost died, he called you. All right. So what else do you expect? Like,
right.
If they had made him, I agree entirely. If they had made him like more competent and then he turns around and goes like, I'm just going to sue for custody of this kid. I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to sue for primary custody. You don't have, like, you've not made the time this entire time. So I don't have any belief that you're going to make the time now. That would have been the mic drop moment. That would have been great. But that's not what this movie is.
No.
This movie was a don't give a shit movie made to be watched on like a Saturday night when you were folding laundry. Better than Ger, probably. So what they do then is she goes to the hospital. This is the moment where she will decide to like not try and cock block the DNR on this little Denny kid. She will dramatically pull out all the tubes from this kid's nose. She will talk to the kid's dad, who is like, I shouldn't have like been away so long, with the drug use. And now I like regret that I missed all this time with him. You should like basically like use me as like an example of what not to do. Like I wish I had spent more time with my family. Like this movie hammers it home so fucking hard. And I'm frustrated because like the real moral should be like try and find the balance between your job and your work and like not be like an insane person who somehow does all the jobs and poorly and oversteps her. Like you would be fine if you were doing your job, but you're not doing your job. You're doing your job plus like breaking ethical boundaries by trying to be the mother of every child who walks into the hospital. Like that's not like my job is demanding of me. You're an insane person and maybe you shouldn't have this job, frankly. But like the movie's like, oh, you're the mother and you should be caregiving. Why aren't you caregiving more? Like I'm like, you think you're progressive, but you're somehow like really retrogressive because you're a woman. So obviously like your skill set is love ? And because she's such a woman, she has too much love and she's putting the love in the wrong direction. Put your love at home, bake a casserole. Like it feels like it thinks it's the future and instead it's the past. And it's so frustrating to watch this movie. But anyways, we have a black person who she can use as an example. So
thank God.
Thanks, movie. So she's like, oh shit, yeah, my family. I had one of those.
I think.
So she maybe. So she leaves the hospital. She goes to like the saddest Charlie Brown Christmas tree lot. It's Christmas Eve, because that's the movie that this is. Yep. She picks out the saddest little like your 10-year-old
free Christmas tree.
Yeah. The tiniest little, like your kids could pick up that Christmas tree with one hand, and you have wee little children. They could pick it up and throw it like a stick. And she's like, how much is this? And the lady's like, well, you're buying a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve at like 11:45. You know what, lady? It is free for you. Whatever you are going through, you need this tree more than I need the $12 that this tree is going to cost. It's yours. Go with God. And she's like, cool, thanks. And the woman's like, oh, I'll strap it to your car for you. And I'm like, you could put this in the cup holder. This tree is so small. But sure, strap it to the car. So then, and I feel like I don't fully understand what she's trying to do in this scene, but like I'm going to try and describe it as best I can. She drives to the house that Ger's working on. That again is not their actual house. It's like the being built house. It's late at night. Ger and the child are asleep upstairs on the second floor, like sharing a little like twin extra long mattress, basically. The front door of this house is not locked. She walks right up to it. She pushes down like the trigger on the handle and it goes wide open. And I'm like, you're going to get murdered. Like, seriously? Like, I feel like the one rule of taking care of a child is lock the fucking door at night. I don't know why this is so.
Maybe he hadn't installed the locks yet.
Then why are you sleeping in this house? Like, no. With like a dirty ass floor mattress. And he's like, good enough. Parenting, fatherhood. Sure. So she opens up the front door, real easy, swings it wide open. She walks in with her Charlie Brown Christmas tree. She plunks that in the corner. She obviously has bought a whole bunch of presents. And I know that Ger has not been involved in any, the Matt character, Ger. I know that he has not been involved in any of the purchases because later he will see the purchases under the tree and he's like, holy shit, what's that? I know you didn't buy those, sir. I know. You are a dad from the 90s. You have never seen a single goddamn thing under this tree. You could not name them if I gave them to you. So, so she puts
your
the
children.
tree there.
I'm talking about your children. I could not name them if I gave them to you. Yeah.
That too. So she plops the tree. She stands it up. She decorates it with whatever ornaments that she had at home, I guess. She brings a whole bunch of presents that she's wrapped herself under the tree. And then I was like, okay, like that's going to be your thing? No. Then she takes a fucking like 12-foot ladder. And I was like, ma'am, what's going on now? She takes a 12-foot ladder up to the roof of the house. And it's one of those things where there's like a second lower roof kind of in the middle of the roof. I don't know. Is there a better way to describe that? There's like a lower roof. There's like the top of the house. And then
they all have names, but I can't think of the name right now.
It's that thing where there's like, you have like a porch overhang. And then if you stood on top of the porch overhang.
Yeah, like that. It's just
Yeah. So she climbs up there on it. And at first I was like, oh, is she going to like put Christmas lights on this house? I mean, I guess that's festive. It's clearly summer, as I can tell by the clothing she's wearing and the trees around her. But okay, sure. But no, she doesn't. She like seems to have some kind of like a jingle ball or something with her. And she's just like marching on the fucking roof.
Like, I'm Santa Claus.
Because he wakes up, he hears the noise, he wakes up and he says something like, oh yeah, oh Santa. And then he's like, Dad, wake up, it's Christmas. Can I like go downstairs? And he's like, oh, okay. So they run downstairs, they see the Christmas tree and Ger's like, oh my God, a Christmas miracle. And he like, this just cements for me that like the father character is another child because the look on his face is pure Christmas magic and not someone broke in and put a Christmas tree in this house where I never locked the door at night. Like this movie makes me want to scream and throttle everyone and then like rewatch the sex scenes a couple times and then go back and scream and throttle them some more. It's just, I was like, so you climbed, it's the middle of the night. You're a lady of like 5 feet tall. You've just been working like a 23 and a half hour long shift at the ER. You're climbing a 12-foot tall ladder that no one's gonna, like, if you fall off of it, are you even gonna make a loud enough thump for anyone to like find you before morning? I don't think so. No. But instead you were like, I think it's really important for me to climb on the roof and dance like Santa Claus. God fucking damn it, this movie. Like, what? Just like,
she's like, look how good of a mom I am.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. I Hail Mary past this. I clenched it. So like she does that. She, I guess, takes the ladder that's like more than 3 times her size and straps it onto her, like, I don't know, Volkswagen Bug, and she toots all the way back to her actual house, and she passes out on the couch because no one in this movie, the one time we see them sleep in an actual bed is when Ger's like trouser snake. So Ger brings the kid over in the morning, and all of a sudden everything is forgiven.
Yep. You climbed up on that roof like you really loved your child.
The worst part for me is, like, in my notes I just wrote marriage saved. So she goes, can you live with me? And he goes, well, I can't live without you. Okay. I don't know.
What?
I mean, he can't live without you because he's got weaponized incompetence. I mean,
I can't live without you because my mom never taught me how to do anything and I'm dependent upon a woman. Like, what do you mean? Or do you mean like
it's meant to be like a cute romantic line, but it comes off like, well, he doesn't have to live with you because you're never at home, and he can't live without you because he would probably drown in his own shit and dirty laundry in like 2 hours. So like, I don't really like, it just sort of feels like
you keep taking the laundry out of the dryer and putting it in the washer and being like, I don't get it. When does it get in my drawer?
I'm folding it so good.
Like the magic portal that takes dishes from the sink into the dishwasher. You know, if you put your dishes in the sink hard enough, they just go straight into the dishwasher.
Yeah, if you do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right.
And only women know how to do it right. That's how that works. That's the secret of our gender. So I don't like I said, I feel like everyone in this movie is a teenager that can't get out of their own way. The movie's a little bit racist. The main character thinks she's God's gift to doctors. I mean, she literally at one point is like, I just keep thinking that if I save all these other children, that God will give me like Chuck E. Cheese points that I can use to redeem the soul of my son, and like he'll live forever. And I'm like, that's not.
You have a deep-seated problem and need therapy, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that dick. Something needs to cure you.
Yeah, it's got therapy tattooed down the side. Time for some therapy. Oh, God. But like a real one, like a counselor. I got a real one. It's got counselor on the other side. Look at it.
No one can get out of their own way. Everybody is sort of racist. If this were a movie about like balancing an actual job with her actual family, like she cared equally about both, then it would be sort of compelling. But instead she gives no shits about her family.
None.
She steals her child's toys. She like gives Ger like one hand job in an abandoned house, and she's like, we're good, right? Marriage saved. And then like she spends the rest of the movie caring about Denny in a way that is detrimental to him. Like, he had the DNR in place. You personally were just denigrating his grandmother's wishes about it and making her feel bad and like calling her a bad parent, basically, or a bad grandmother. Like, if you cared about Denny the way that I care about Denny, you would never do this. You would never sign a DNR. You would never ask for these things. And it's like, she saw her daughter die, first off. Her grandson has the same thing. The son-in-law character, the father of the grandson, he's out in the fucking wind somewhere until the last 10 minutes of the movie. Like, this kid is suffering.
Doesn't she actually resuscitate him once?
Yeah, I think so, probably.
Yeah, I think she does. Even after the DNR, she's like, no, I can't let him go.
Yeah, and they want to do they want to do experimental treatment on him that could cause him to die. Like, that like may not help him and could cause him to die before the AIDS would get him even. Like, it's like, what's the point of this? Like, what's the point of hurting this child that you say that you love over and over and over again and stalking him to his house and like,
because she
like,
cares.
why? Because she cares. It's because the way that her job is set up, is, like I said, she's somehow the head of her department and also the lowliest scrub at the bottom of her department. So she has to do that. She's the phlebotomist. She's on call even when she's not supposed to be on call. She like all decisions have to report back to her. So she has to like veto and approve everybody's like med charts and shit. Like she's doing everything all the time.
It's awful. Like the failure to thrive baby, she refers them to like the gastro specialist. And so they're putting the baby on a fast so that when they do give it food, they can see how much like glucose the baby's taking up. It's on like hour 35.5 of a 36-hour fast. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Fucking feed it. And he's like, no, we're already doing the fast. And she's like, I'm telling you now. And they end up feeding the baby and completely undoing everything that the gastro doctor that she referred the baby to was trying to do. She's like, I would never have approved that test. I would never have approved that test. I'm like, but that's not your specialist. You're like a family practitioner.
That's not your department.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to refer the child to you. I'm going to refer her to you because you are the specialist in this area and you can make decisions and you will know what tests to run on this kid. But also I'm the only one who knows anything because my superpower is love. And I'm going to use my Care Bear stare to tell you to fuck off and like undo all the tests that you've done.
It's
because you couldn't possibly.
She's deeply upsetting. Like, I don't know how she would have read in the 90s.
Oh, I know exactly how she would have read in the 90s. Like, she cares too much.
Yeah, cares.
She cares too much as a positive thing.
She gives. And now when you watch it, you're like, wow, this woman is problematic. Yeah. Like, wow, this is really difficult to watch.
Yeah. What I'm really curious about is the way that the husband character would have read in the 90s. Because I get Amelia 100%. In the 90s, she is the hardworking mom and she has to do too much and she just keeps trying and the world just expects so much of her and she's just a bleeding heart and we're all supposed to root her on. Like I get Amelia, but the husband character is interesting because from a 2024 perspective, I'm like weaponized incompetence, just pass, just done.
No, but I think he's supposed to read as like doing the most. Like look at all that he's doing and he's trying to hold on to the scraps of his masculinity.
Yes. There it is. The scraps of masculinity. That's the part that I think is interesting because to me, like he reads as just useless, but at the time it does seem like he's doing some things just poorly, but he thinks he's helping. But then when they have fights, when Amelia and Matt fight, she keeps throwing back at him like you're doing the bare fucking minimum and you want a ribbon for it. When they fight at the house he's working on, when he's taken the child away from her.
Yeah.
She throws that at him. You want a ribbon for even like getting off your ass and being involved at all. But it seems like that's the only moment where the movie and I are like on the same page. And the rest of the time she's like, no, he's great. And I love him and he's wonderful. And that dick, thumbs up. Like it's like she just, or when she thinks that he is interested in the preschool teacher, she's not mad at him. She's mad at herself. Like I'm not pretty like I used to be. I'm not young like I used to be. I have a job. That's a bummer. Of course he's going to look at the 20-year-old preschool teacher with the perky tits. Like, of course. Like, it's my fault. And it's like, I just, that's the one thing where I'm like curious, like if it's 1993 and you turn this movie on, I assume that you like the Matt character and you see him as like, he has some flaws, but he's otherwise a good guy because the movie ends with them together again and everyone's happy. And like, that wouldn't be a happy ending if he was just a total bastard. But like from a 2024 perspective, I'm like, you deserve each other. You both suck. He's a child and you're a child in a different way. Like you're just like, your job is not love. Like you're not actually a Care Bear. Like your job is to be a doctor and to use your medical knowledge to help these people and to understand that they have autonomy and that they can make decisions for their own bodies and their own children. And like, you have to respect that even if you don't like it. Yeah. And that's just so beyond her. So characteristics. We have, I saw him a couple of times do the bemused eyebrow. Yeah. I know I saw that.
Yep. He's
on the handsy joke. As fuck. Yeah, I'm in on the joke. He is handsy as fuck with every character that he gets within gripping range of. Yeah, the fingers go everywhere. Yep. Is there kissing? By God, yes, there is.
Somebody tells him he's pretty.
Someone does tell him he's pretty, yeah. No weird facial hair, no accent.
Weird
the
mom.
never nude.
Weird mom.
Weird mom, absolutely. Weird mom who's throwing her American goulash
Wow,
everywhere.
we got a lot in this one.
We do have a lot in this one. And the never nude. The never nude, because when we have the one sex scene, you see like part of a clavicle, and then like the camera angle is such that you don't get anything lower than that.
Done.
No, part of the back of his shoulder, and that's it.
Doing regular housework badly.
What else does he do housework badly? I mean, like chores and stuff.
Like
I
chores.
guess, like in
in Deadly Harvest.
Deadly Harvest.
And there's another one where he's supposed to be. Is it this one where he's washing dishes? And it's like he's never washed dishes before in his life. I think that's Other Women's Children.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it's this movie or if it's. Well, we'll find. I was like him like being somehow both really handsy with every character that he's next to in a scene, but also when it comes to like using his hands for anything else, it's like it's his first day with them. Yeah. He's not really sure. What is this screwdriver? I'm folding laundry. You're just like, sir, what is, sir? Like, okay. So
I'm going to have to go 5.
Shut up.
I'm going to go 5 eyebrows. Because remember, mine's not about the quality of the thing. It's just about the horniness of the character. And he gets to be a lot of his characteristics. I mean, he does. This is almost the first time since Diamonds where he's been like the sex symbol. And everyone is like, you have the hot husband.
The Russian ballet.
You need to be with the hot husband. And he's like, I am in fact the hot husband. And he also gets to have like, I'm having sex with my wife. And you can tell because I have like, she touched my dick and then we were in a thing. And I said, let us give thanks. And then we did it. Like it's like a very, I gotta go 5. I remember I knocked Merry Wives of Windsor to 4, even though it's a very horny performance. But this feels like quintessential 1993 Ger doing his thing at his peak, and being told he's pretty to his face on set regularly.
This does feel like I can't see anyone else having been hired for this role.
No.
I feel like I could see anyone being the dad/husband character in Hush Little Baby. Because, like, it just requires you to be, like, generic male counterpart to the female lead. Like, just support her and, like, stand there and, like, be handsome, whatever. This role, Other Women's Children, really requires, like, a professional makeout artist. And so I can't imagine, like, who else has the toolkit for this role? Like, nobody.
He had to go implied steamy, like, TV movie. Like, they needed a TV movie.
What implied? He grabs her hand and flops it on his dick.
He's not actually naked. Like they needed someone who could, and actually would probably refuse to be actually naked, and would yet still deliver on the like. We needed to be sexy though, and he's like, "It's fine. I don't need to be naked. Watch me work."
He's definitely lying there wearing like 6 pairs of jeans and like snow pants. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, and like 5 shirts, and they're like, "Are you not hot?" And he's like, "Nope, not physically.
This is for your protection. I am my own intimacy coordinator. You could put your hand there. It's like the Princess and the Pea. I can't feel a goddamn.
They're like, thing. Wow, are you wearing a quilted jacket under that? And he's like, maybe. I mean, this probably showed on like the Lifetime network, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, this was as close as they could get to like sexy scenes.
If I saw this on television today, I would burn my clothes with the iron. Like I would stop what I was doing for too long. I would black out. He literally grabs her hand and plops it on his dick. And then 2 scenes later, when they're fucking in the abandoned house, he looks down at his dick and looks up and smiles like it's a brand new thing he's never seen before.
It's like, oh
Picasso. In fact, Picasso, if I may.
I see what you did there.
Do you see what I did there? It's very subtle.
That was really good.
Yeah. I am an artist also, it turns out.
I'm an artist with my weirds.
Okay, so you gave it 5 out of 5 raised eyebrows. I rate it on the overall quality, and I have a hard time with this movie because like those 2.5 sex. Well, I guess only one of those is an actual sex scene. Like those sex scene and the 2 like sensual scenes are really good. They're ridiculously good. They're like surprise you with the horniness good. You're like, oh sir, oh the vapors. I need a fan. Like what? And the rest of the movie just makes you angry. And I don't know that it's not like Hypercube, where I just want to shake the director and be like, what the fuck is going on? It's not like Ikwe, where I'm like, this is not educational. It's a hate crime. It's just sort of like the 90s encapsulated, where nobody thought they were an asshole, but we're looking back at it, I'm like, every single character here is an asshole. I hate every one of them. They all suck. They all suck so aggressively, and they just don't see any of their suckage. And then when they have like a moment where they have like a glimmer of any kind of like self-understanding, they immediately blow right past it into just doubling down on their terribleness again. And like, so I feel like taking the good and bad and like evening them out, I feel like I come to like a 6. Do you know what I mean?
That's
like
fair.
Slightly better than it is bad, but only because Let Us Give Thanks is the only horny Thanksgiving scene I've ever seen in my entire life. And I want this to be a new genre. I want there to be sweaty Thanksgiving movies.
Props for originality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and like, again, I keep harping on this, but like in terms of props for originality, I have never seen a scene in a movie where a guy pauses and stares directly into his own lap and is surprised by what he finds there. That's a new one. That is a new scene on me. I have never seen that in any of my many movies. That is new. So like, I want this to be a resurgent genre. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like didn't they make like a rom-com movie for like Independence Day a couple years ago? Do you remember how there was like the Valentine's movie where it was all the stars? Didn't they make one that was like Arbor Day? Like they had ones where they were like weird holidays. I would like to submit Sexy Thanksgiving. They just came out with that horror movie for Thanksgiving. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Last year sometime?
Yes.
So like the wheels are turning. The cogs are turning. So if anyone in the universe hears this and is like, we have not exploited Thanksgiving enough, there's still room there for capitalism to get its greedy claws in. Might I suggest sex? Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would improve all Thanksgiving.
Right?
Just don't watch it with your family.
Or do
And bond over something completely new. Not rage kitchen cleaning after rage cooking all morning.
Although, like, seeing as Thanksgiving is a holiday that is more heavily burdensome on women, maybe watching a movie about a woman who sees the burdens that society puts on women and is like, what if, hear me out, I put more burdens on myself and I make everyone around me real uncomfortable.
Yes.
Maybe that's not the holiday. So don't watch it on Thanksgiving. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
wait a week, cool down a little bit, pour yourself a glass of red wine.
Then come back.
And then come back.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's the plan. That's the plan. And on that note, friends.
Until next time.
Bye.